Hi,
Jess.
We saw Solo, a Star Wars story, last Saturday.
Woo!
It was so good. So we decided to do a Super Carlin Brothers style movie review for you today. So Aaron, what are some general impressions you had of the movie?
Oh, I loved it. I knew I was going to like it. It was, I'd say, even better than expected. Yeah, really enjoyed lots of things about it. We'll touch on different specific things we liked about it in that, but tremendously good movie. Really enjoyed it. Well done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I enjoyed it a lot. I thought it was really entertaining. I thought it was really good, both as like a standalone story, but also as sort of part of the canon.
Mm-hmm.
It was exciting to see some things that we already knew happened happen in front of our eyes, but also sort of some new, different things that we didn't know about. So that was a lot of fun.
Kind of like, this is the second Star Wars story. Rogue One was the first of the spin-offs. It was kind of fun to see things we've known about since A New Hope came out, like forever.
Yeah.
See them explained a little more. Things we've always known about, but haven't really had fully explained or talked about before. So with Rogue One, like how the spies got the Death Star plans, but with this one, where the Millennium Falcon comes from and what the Kessel Run really is and what it means that he did 12 parsecs and different things like that.
Very cool.
How Han and Chewie meet, great moment.
Oh yeah, that was fun. So what were some of your favorite parts?
The favorite parts. Let's see.
So hard.
As I said, I really like Han and Chewie meeting for the first time. There will be spoilers in this, obviously. So if you haven't seen it yet, go see it. Really, really should go see it. So I love the relationship between Han and Chewbacca. Loved like the little jokes for Star Wars fans, like Chewbacca. Like, you're gonna have to have a nickname. I'm not gonna call you that every time.
That was good.
And just how they become buddies so quickly after surviving a harrowing experience together. And like the part where it's like, I just did the Kessel Run in 12 parsecs. Not if you round down,
buddy.
So that was good.
That was funny.
I liked, the big spoiler, Darth Maul. Oh my gosh, that was so good. So there was one thing we all enjoyed about this movie was like the nods to the old canon. Like,
good.
They mentioned the bounty hunter Aurra Sing at one point, just kind of in passing, and lots of little things like that. But Darth Maul, like, nobody saw that coming. And that was cool because if you've seen the Clone Wars shows, that connects to that. And we didn't really know we knew he was alive and doing nefarious things, but we didn't know what happened to him after the Emperor kind of kicks his butt and makes him kind of work for him again. And it's been a couple of years since that happened. Like, nobody knew what happened to him, and now we do. And we didn't expect him to show up there. What's going to happen with him next? I want to find out.
Yeah, it was really fun. I've read the Han Solo trilogy from the old canon, and so only a few of the same elements were in there, like the Kessel Run and meeting Lando and getting the Millennium Falcon and meeting Chewie. And so it was interesting how they sort of did similar but different things with that, and then sort of how they still made like a whole new story.
And it's kind of fun how they subvert your expectations at times. Like, he's gambling with Lando and the Millennium Falcon's on the line, but he doesn't actually win it because Lando cheats.
Yeah.
And then you're like, is he going to get the Millennium Falcon in this movie? And then in the end, of course, he does. But it wasn't at the moment you expected it, so that kind of heightens the tension a little bit, which was kind of fun, playing with our expectations that way.
Yeah, that was cool.
Or like how the Millennium Falcon has that escape pod that makes it look different than how we are familiar with it, and they have to jettison it at one point, and you're like, oh, there's the ship I recognize.
Oh, yeah.
It's got more paint than we're used to, but that all gets worn off eventually.
Oh, yeah, eventually. I think some of my favorite parts were just a lot of the surprises and there's certain characters that you wonder kind of what side are they on. Like Kira, you just don't know. You just don't know about her. And I sort of liked how at different times it seemed like maybe she was a pawn, maybe she was just on Han's side, maybe she wasn't. And at the end, she was kind of just on her own side. She was just out to survive. And so that was just really interesting and really unexpected. And I really loved the story of the Marauders and how they were just not at all what you expected. And when the main Marauder's mask comes off, and it's not anyone you've ever seen before, so it's not like a big reveal that way, but it's just like, I don't know what you were expecting, but it definitely wasn't that, right? Mm-hmm. And I just love their story about how they were just sort of fighting the oppressors out in the galaxy.
Mm-hmm. We've talked about this ourselves before, but I was wondering what they were going to do with Qi'ra, because Star Wars has a history of strong women, but not very many women. So it's always interesting to see what they do, and with time they get more progressive. So I was hoping to see a big role for this female character, but also she is still the love interest to a predominantly male movie. So I was kind of interested to see what they do. And most of the time I'm like, okay, she's primarily the love interest, and she's either going to end up as like the loyal love interest who backstabs her like controlling evil people in favor of the man she loves, or she's going to end up as kind of this temptress who Han thought was on his side and in the end betrays him. And yet neither of those things happened. She was more complicated than that, which was kind of cool, which I liked. I was thinking about this. I don't think the movie necessarily passes the Bechdel test.
No.
I don't think so.
No.
It may, Nest.
Qi'ra talks with the leader of Enfys Nest, but they're talking about Han, so that doesn't count.
Yeah. So like most of the Star Wars movies, it doesn't really pass the Bechdel test, even though it's got strong female characters, which, doesn't make it a bad movie, but is indicative that it's still a pretty male-dominated movie.
Yep. There's some pretty good ones.
Mm-hmm.
There was also one interesting line, like towards the beginning when Han is still the soldier, and I just thought it was interesting that they chose to put it in there that Han said, well, it's their planet, we're the hostiles,
Mm-hmm.
And I was just like, well, that's really good, and that's something they wouldn't have put in 20 years ago, and it was really good.
Well, they might have made, I don't know. But I mean, he is working for the bad guys at that point, and they want to establish that he's a good guy, even though he's working with the bad guys at that point.
You're a good guy.
I'm a terrible person. No. We see through your fake lies, Han. In a similar vein, they call this movie like a space western. And I'm not sure I necessarily would have realized that if they didn't call it that, right? Because it's still Star Wars. But I remember reading this, and you can tell when looking at the costume designs, the Marauders have kind of a Native American aesthetic to them, whereas Han's guys are like the cowboys, the outlaws, and they're kind of going toe-to-toe. And I was interested with that because, like, what's the saying? Like, of course, they're not actually Native Americans and cowboys, so the racial problems maybe aren't there because it's fake in Star Wars. But still, it's a little interesting if the kind of Native American-based characters are kind of faceless villains, which they seem to be for most of the movie.
Yeah.
But then in the grand old Star Wars tradition of taking off a mask and revealing the humanity underneath, we find out that actually they're the good guys, and they're actually like the early Rebel Alliance. And I thought that was really cool, the subversion of our expectations, switching up who we kind of figure for the whole movie that despite the fact that he's an outlaw, that Beckett's a good guy. And in the end, he kind of becomes the main villain, almost.
In a way.
In a way, not entirely. It's more complicated than that.
It's more complicated, but yeah, he's just not, he's sort of on his own side.
So I thought that was cool. It subverts our expectations, reminds us of the humanity in all people, the complexity of all people, and also the faceless are human too. And it's it's always more complicated than that, which I always enjoy in a story.
What did you think of the new actors that they had?
Good. Let me remind myself of names. I mean, I knew this, but Donald Glover, the most suave, wonderful, beautiful young Lando we could possibly have. That was beautiful.
Everything you've heard about me is true. That was really good.
The Calrissian Chronicles continued. I mean, the big question with this one, of course, is Alden Ehrenreich going to live up to Harrison Ford as young Han Solo? And I mean, it's Harrison Ford, like, there's really no living up to it, but like, I think he did a quality job.
I think he did a good job.
I thought he did a very good job. Again, he's not Harrison Ford, but he looked, similar to what Harrison Ford looked like as a younger guy.
Yeah, and I think he did a good job of maybe showing a younger, not quite as world-weary Han.
He's definitely more idealistic.
Yeah, he always thinks.
I've got a good feeling about this.
Everything's gonna turn out.
As opposed to Han, who's always, I've got a bad feeling about this.
Yeah, that's a good point. I never noticed that part.
Well, because that's the recurring joke line throughout all Star Wars. But kind of to emphasize his starry idealism as this younger character, he doesn't say that. I mean, Han is the most cynical. Like, Han's cynicism is a direct foil to Luke's idealism. And to Obi-Wan's kind of more tested, but also very real idealism. But Han's the cynic. He's the atheist, if you will, amidst all the believers in the Force.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
But he's not there yet in the story. We kind of, he gets backstabbed by a couple people he trusts. That kind of leads to that. And yet, he still believes in, Chewbacca and Kira. And does the right thing.
Yeah. Of course, I think Donald Glover was, like, spot on.
Oh, yeah.
So good.
Perfect.
Really good.
And Woody Harrelson is always good. He did a very good job.
Love him.
And I like Emilia Clarke and everything. I haven't seen...
I'm becoming a pretty big fan.
I haven't seen Game of Thrones with her, but she's very good in everything I've seen her in.
Yeah.
And she did a very good job. She's a lovely woman, but she's a strong woman, and she was, as we said before, a complicated character, which was cool.
Did you notice that in most of the movie, Kira had a haircut very similar to mine?
Mm-hmm.
I was like, cosplay option.
Yep.
She does have some pretty great outfits, too.
Yeah. Well, and I totally do Han to pair with you, but I have done Han, but I don't think my hair doesn't grow that long.
Oh, no, that's fine.
Not to really, we could still do
You've done it before.
Yeah, I can do older Han better than I can do solo Han.
Be on the lookout for new cosplay couples.
L3, the droid, was great.
She was so great. Oh, she was fun. It was so fun how, like, she was a droid, but she was so sassy, and also, like, her kind of build was, like, matched her personality perfectly. Like, she looked like a female robot, the way she walked, kind of, and she had that sassy,
and a tough, sassy
female. Like,
not like some petite, pretty female, but like
like, I'm on my way to murder someone.
In a good feminist way.
Yeah.
Or what do you call robot rights?
Or start a revolution, I guess.
Droidist? Droidist? I don't know. Free your brothers and sisters. I created a distraction.
Revolution! That was so cool.
And I just thought it was funny that the villain Dryden Voss was played by Vision.
The man who plays Vision, yeah. That was really funny.
By Paul Bettany. But he did a very good job.
He was very good. Good villain.
I enjoyed it.
Any other, like, important or cool things that you noticed? I
like the, I mentioned this to you the other day, the gold dice.
Yeah.
Which, I don't know, had you ever noticed those before The Last Jedi? No.
I didn't know what they were.
Yeah, I didn't know what they were until The Last Jedi, and then I'm like, oh, apparently they've always been in the Millennium Falcon. Just a little side prop, which they weren't important, they were just a set piece, but in The Last Jedi, they made them this thing that, like, connected Luke and Leia and Han from their memories. And they pointed out, which, as we were saying the other day, is because now the fans are making the movies, which is kind of cool. And the fans pick up on, oh, that's the thing I remember.
Yeah.
And because it was so important in The Last Jedi, connected to Han and the Millennium Falcon, they make a point of it in Solo, which seems a little incongruous with how, basically invisible they are in the original trilogy, but also I think is kind of cool. Just a reminder that, yeah, the fans are making the movies now. Oh, and like we were saying, we like the nods to the original canon, but a lot more, there was a lot more of those nods than in any of the more recent Star Wars movies. And I like that there was a good balance between brand new stuff, but also stuff fans are already invested in.
Yeah. I think it was cool how something so small sort of became a symbol for loyalties and where they are, like between Han and Kira. They sort of exchanged them at different times to as a signal, kind of, to show where their loyalties were. Like when Kira gave them to Han on the Kessel planet, it was sort of a signal, hey, I'm on your side, even though I'm treating you like a slave. Don't forget that I'm on your side, and I want you to come out of this. I thought that was cool.
Yeah, definitely.
Do you have any critiques of the movie?
there wasn't enough of it. I wanted more.
Should have been more.
I mean, this is one critique I have of both these Star Wars stories. I think it was a bad decision to ditch the opening crawl.
Yeah.
In which they decided they actually needed some text to introduce the story, but they didn't want to like spit in Rogue One's face, so they just had opening
whatever
text.
reason they had.
I think that was it. They want to have continuity between these spin-off ones, which makes sense.
I appreciated the context.
Yeah. So I think that was a ball dropped on Rogue One's part, and I actually think I heard the director say he regrets that decision, but he can't take it back now. No, well, I don't know. George Lucas has gone back and changed things about the original trilogy, so not necessarily. But
it's not off the table.
Some people are pissed about that. So. Laundry's almost done. I sense a great disturbance in the Force.
I had a critique, but it wasn't of the movie. It was of the cell phone message before the movie, where it said, like, they had a bunch of cool quotes from the classic Star Wars films, and then it said, "Don't disrupt the Force. Turn off your cell phones." Except they should have totally said, "Don't disturb the Force." Get it together, Celebration Cinema.
Mm-hmm. Your lack of faith disturbs me.
That's a great disturbance in the Force. Mm-hmm. Like, it just kind of shows how fake they're really being.
Yeah. Just trying to mark it off the movies they're playing. Yeah, I guess minor nitpicky things. Like, again, I really love how they mixed with the old canon. There were a few things that they changed from the old canon, like you heard Ethan griping about the shape of Kessel.
Oh.
Like, which is not that big of a deal, but it's also not a very difficult thing to include, so it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
One thing, and this is often the case with Star Wars movies, on some level they pack so much in, it can get a little crowded, because they go to so many different places and do so many different things, and it was really quite excellent and pretty well balanced, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not sure that they could have cut much
to
build up relationships, so it's not even, it felt a touch crowded to me, but not really bad.
So, how do you think it measures up to the rest of the Star Wars films?
I think it fits in very well. I think there will be snobs who are all hating on it because it's not pure Star Wars or whatever. I am a giant squid of anger. I mean, it's not The Empire Strikes Back, obviously, but I think it's still very good.
I think so. I think it's worthy of the Star Wars canon.
Oh, absolutely. And, like, there is a certain aesthetic and a certain quality that I think all of the Star Wars movies share. And that just is really good every time I see it. Like, I get excited every time there's a new one. I'm not one of those people really who thinks, although they will ruin Star Wars.
No one can ruin Star Wars. Don't let anyone tell you they can.
No. I mean, I think you do. I think we agree on this. We take the sometimes controversial opinion that even, like, the newer ones and the like the Phantom Menace and stuff are very good quality Star Wars and quite enjoyable. Even Jar Jar Binks, who is obviously a little annoying,
right?
But he's part of Star Wars.
Deal with it.
Deal with it. It's okay. Star Wars is an excellent high quality film franchise and also a fun space adventure.
Yeah.
So there can be some ridiculous things.
There's definitely lots of goofy parts.
Yeah, there's plenty of goofy, quirky, cheesy things even in A New Hope. So
I will definitely stand by the fact that the Ewoks are still my favorite Star Wars character. So that's pretty fun.
It's like Chuck Norris went to Build-A-Bear and built a super army.
Yeah. So I loved it. You loved it.
2 thumbs up.
Make that 4.
4 thumbs up, depending on how many arms you've got hidden in your Imperial uniform.
So if you watched to the end of this, thank you. Congrats. And please feel free to have an epic discussion in the comments about what you thought of the movie. And Jess, well, I guess I'll see you a week from Monday because I'll be seeing Aaron on Monday. So tune in on Monday to see Aaron. And Jess, I will see you in a week. Bye.
Bye.